So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using a combination of organic and geometric objects in this picture that you're going to be creating. You have been practicing those more architectural things with the buildings and the sidewalks and the walls and the doorways. And in the video that you just watched, you were able to see some organic objects, specifically some trees, a field, that were all use linear perspective to draw them correctly. And we're going to try to combine those two things. The nice thing about this particular drawing is that you're going to be given a lot of leeway as to how you put this thing together. All right. So the very first thing that you have to do in starting this, first of all, we want to make sure we're using a wooden pencil. We want to make sure it's not too sharp, and we want to really protect the tooth of the paper, the texture of the paper. We don't want to draw dark and heavy. We want to really keep our lines light. So once we establish that, we're going to go ahead and decide where our horizon line is going to be. Now your horizon line is going to need to be towards the middle, but it doesn't have to be in the exact middle. It can be a little higher or it can be a little bit lower, and you get to decide that. You're going to need your T-square to draw this in a way that you know it's going to be horizontal. And like I said, you can go a little higher or you can go a little bit lower, but just make sure that that T is lined up with the edge of the paper. You might notice your paper is a little bit wider than the T-square, and that's okay. We're going to just draw real lightly here across, and then I'm just going to flip my T-square over to the other side and finish that up. Okay. Once I have established where my horizon line is going to be, the next step would be to establish where my vanishing point is going to be. And just like your horizon line, you have some choice. You'll want it to be near the middle, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the exact middle. You can go fairly far left and fairly far right. You can, the only thing I ask that you don't do is just go all the way to one side or the other. But you really have, if you're in the middle third of the page, if we were to divide it into 3, then that's all fair game. Okay? So then you're just going to pick a spot. The fun thing about you having some choice in this is that each of these little decisions is ultimately going to have a big impact on what your drawing looks like, and it's going to differentiate yours from the person sitting next to you, and so forth and so on, which you hopefully saw in the photographs that you chose from on the last drawing that we did. Okay, once we have our horizon line and our vanishing point, the next thing we need to do is we need to create a pathway. We're going to create a, it can either be a road, a walkway, shoot, it could even be a railroad track, it could be a sidewalk, some kind of a long parallel stretch of lines that are moving towards that vanishing point. And again, you get to decide, are we looking down a set of railroad tracks? Are we looking down a road? Are we looking down a sidewalk? Are we looking down just a walking path, a bike path? You get to decide that, but that's the next step in the process. So we're going to want it to come out at the bottom, towards the bottom of our page. Again, we want to have a little bit of leeway so that yours isn't going to necessarily look like the person next to yours. It can come out to the far left, it can shoot out to the far right, it can shoot out right to the middle, but we want that pathway to be about a third of that space. Again, so if we're thinking about dividing this page into thirds, you want to think that's about the width you want your walkway, your pathway, your tracks to be. So you could slide that to the far left, to the far right, or somewhere in between. So again, you get to decide. So then just give yourself kind of a couple little markers to shoot for. And now you're going to go to your vanishing point you just selected, and you're going to draw a line. Again, drawing super light and not applying much pressure. Okay, so that's going to be my walkway, my pathway. I don't even know yet what it's going to be. I haven't decided yet. Okay, and this is the bare bones. This is the framework in which everyone needs to start from. Once you get to this point, then you will have some decisions to make. Each of your drawings should contain both some architectural, geometric elements, so a building, a wall, a shed, a house, and it also should include some organic objects, trees, bushes, flowers, rivers, etc. All of which should in some way be impacted by that vanishing point. So you'll have some decisions to make along the way. You don't have to know what they all are right now, but we're going to take a little bit of time today and try to complete just these first few steps. So horizon line, vanishing point, and pathway. Okay?